What's up, everybody? It's live with the KHive. It's Drew Comments here, chilling with the rest of KHive, here to talk about all things Kamala, all things wonderful. Here sipping with a little vodka and lemonade. You know how I do. And we're just going to go ahead and go around and introduce the rest of KHive, just in case you haven't seen us in the first few episodes. Just make our acquaintance once more. How you doing, Heather?
What's up, y'all? I'm back, and I brought some Kentucky lemonade. So it's a little Kentucky whiskey with some lemonade in it.
Nice, nice. I see. All right, then. Maya, how you feeling?
I'm pretty good. A little tired, but this white wine's going to wake me up, and I'm Maya Contreras, and it's good to see you all again.
No cap. I'm feeling that. Yo, Sydney, what it do, girl?
I said, hey, it's your girl, Sydney A, and I am back. I got my own intro song. I got me a Cosmo, y'all, you feel me? And I got a new Twitter handle, so if y'all want to find me on Twitter, you can follow me at the Sydney A. That is the Sydney A. Don't forget it.
Word. Reecie, what's poppin'?
Hey, y'all, I'm Reecie, Black Women Views, and I have a nice martini.
See up. Ow.
And I have some more left in the chamber, y'all, so cheers.
Cheers, for real. And Kenny, what's going on with you, bro?
What's up, y'all? It's King of Clapbacks. Y'all know who it is. I am sipping on cranberry juice because Beta took all the damn alcohol, child. I am left with nothing. So I am playing make-believe right now. I'm pretending that I'm sipping on something good.
Fake it till you make it.
You make that right. Like J. Cole, made it and I faked it. But we're going to jump right into it first and foremost. We just want to understand the gravity of the moment. First off, rest in peace to Ahmaud Arbery, who was tragically murdered. The viral video that did come out this week that has taken social media and the world by storm. We are happy to see that there have been 2 arrests made in that particular case. So authorities are finally taking these steps to bring justice, but we have to remember that arrests are not justice. We actually need a conviction. Very, very disturbing video, speaks for itself. One of the issues with it mainly was that the actual murder itself took place back in February. Here we are in May, and we're actually getting steps forward. This is one of the disturbing details of it, is that the district attorney looked at that video and was able to see it and then not move to press charges, not move to actually bring a case forward. Instead, recently, the DA has decided to move this to a grand jury. When you are a district attorney, you are granted with certain powers to actually build a case and then actually prosecute when you see wrong. You are actually endowed with that. And one of the things that this has really brought to the forefront is the need or the actual importance of don't just talk about it, be about it. If you're going to make a change, first and foremost, look at district attorneys. That is an elected position, first and foremost. So if you are not voting, you are complicit in injustices, at least through the criminal justice system. You have the ability to do that, to be effectual in that way. But also, if you don't feel like maybe that voting is enough, you can run for office, such as one Senator Kamala Harris, who decided that she could do the district attorney job herself back in San Francisco better than the incumbent. So what she did was she stepped in and ran for office, and she was actually able to step in and effectively win and then implement the change, be the change that you wish to be. Speaking of change, she has actually continue that here in 2020, starting
Hold on, Drew, can I just interject one thing real quick?
Hit me.
Before you move on, I do want to make a point that when Kamala came in as DA, San Francisco DA, she inherited a backlog of 100 unsolved homicides, as well as 76 homicide cases. And she made it a priority to tackle these cases. And she's talked about this in interviews, as far as Black mothers coming to her and saying that they are not taking my son's death seriously. And so that was something that she prioritized. And there's an article in Essence back in 2004 that talked about her giving this priority. And so in 2020, Black mothers are still struggling to have the senseless murders and killings of their sons being taken seriously by these district attorneys. It should not take the kind of outcry and viral trauma that we see being broadcast in order to get justice. These DAs should value Black lives with or without video footage.
Amen.
Absolutely, no, couldn't agree more. That is just the reality of the world that we live in. And even with from the DA having that heart to actually step in and make a change, to now Senator having the heart to make a change and understand the inequities that happened back then, criminal justice, now everyday life. As a matter of fact, Senator Harris actually did introduce her bill, her COVID-19 Racial and Ethnic Disparities Task Force Act. I have to take a deep breath before I say that. It's a long name. Half the bill is actually in the name, but it's a very effective name, or a very effective bill. What is in the bill is this is actually meant to address the disparities in the actual coronavirus infections, the coronavirus deaths, the inequities in the actual healthcare, and the actual response to those who have been infected and those who are dying, particularly among Black and community and POC communities. We've actually learned that Black people are dying at a disproportionate rate, much, much higher than our white counterparts. As a matter of fact, one of the numbers in Michigan, Black people are 13% of the population, 40% of the fatalities of COVID-19. You go down to Louisiana, 33% of the population, 57% of the fatalities. And so what you see is similar. I'll use Houston as an example during the flooding. There are certain different elevation types in flooding in Houston. All of Houston was not flooded equally. There are certain areas that were actually affected by that epidemic more than others. And so what this bill does is direct FEMA and also work with the Department of Health and Human Services to address the areas who need the most in those demographics and those communities, particularly our communities, because of historical issues like redlining, food deserts, and other things that actually make us more susceptible to pandemics. Make sure that we have the correct amount or the appropriate amount of help, resources, personal protective equipment, diagnosis, testing, so on and so forth, just to make things a little bit more fair, but also making sure that those who need help the most get the most help. So it's good to see that she is moving with that to make sure, again, the least of these are taken care of.
Yeah, I actually would like to drop, that was great, Drew. To piggyback off of what Drew just said and what Reecie just said, in Brooklyn, or really in New York, social distancing cases where arrests have been made have been disproportionately Black. About 35, they said in Brooklyn was 35 Black men and women were arrested. It was 4 Hispanic, I believe, and 1 white person. And the our DA in Brooklyn, Eric Gonzalez, refused to prosecute these cases. And I want people to let's rest in people's mind for a moment. See what a powerful progressive prosecutor can do. I want people to have that association. I think people always think negatively when it comes to prosecution, but this is why you want to have people that are progressive prosecutors. So I just wanted to just drop that in case anyone had alternate thoughts about what a prosecutor can and cannot do.
And I'm going to interject there as well, Maya. I want to just mention that this in particular right here, the example that Maya has pointed out, is the exact difference between the actual police, law enforcement officers, and DAs. We're just going to throw that out there. District attorneys, the attorney general. That's the difference between them and regular law enforcement officers. In case someone might confuse the two, I know that's been a common miscommunication, and people have been have utilized these two terms and confused the two quite often, and we've seen that in the last primary. So I think this is a good example of showing exactly why district attorneys are needed and need to be progressive in their fights, because they are in fact not police officers.
No.
They're not knocking on your door.
No. District attorneys are not police officers. District attorneys are not cops. They do not graduate from any academies. They do not put on the vest, gun, and badge. They do not make stops. They do not fill out arrest reports. They do not write incident reports.
They don't give out tickets.
They don't write summons. They don't do any of that. They don't put on 20 pounds of equipment, run up a flight of stairs, jump over a fence to apprehend someone or slap cuffs. No, they're not cops. I know cops. District attorneys, they're attorneys. They went to law school. Cops go to go other places.
Certainly don't pass bills. So
Exactly. But one of the things that is very beneficial of someone who may be a former district attorney, especially as hands-on as Kamala Harris, or again her work back in San Francisco, where she was able to take public and private sector and combine those and say, I want to reach out to the local businesses, that you get an idea of how business works. You can understand how local business, local economies work, but then you also understand from that their needs and how they may be suffering, particularly small businesses. So actually this week, Kamala Harris and Ayanna Pressley have a
Hold on. You didn't finish off the task force part, because I wanted to jump in on that.
Oh, you want to jump in? I'm sorry.
Hey, I didn't. Let me go ahead and get my little 2 cents in. We can go to the small business.
Let me give you a good spot to edit in. All right, 3.
No, we don't have to edit it out. We can go ahead and keep it in. It's all good. Just let them know. Let them know.
Jump on in. I don't mean to cut you off.
Semi-live with the KHive. No, but I did want to jump in on that, because going back to the COVID Racial and Ethnic Disparities Task Force, this was actually, it's a bill put forth by Senator Kamala Harris that was name checked and incorporated into Vice President Joe Biden's Black agenda. And so I want to be very clear about something. Joe Biden, you're not going to be able to outsource the Black agenda to the Black senator. You're going to need to put the Black senator in the White House as the VP, because the Black agenda and tackling these racial disparities, it's not just Black and Latino, but it's also the Native American community that has been absolutely ravaged by this COVID-19 pandemic, which Senator Kamala Harris has been on the forefront of calling for increased funding and accountability in that area. But we are not going to accept relegating our agenda to the back burner and to surrogates. This is why it's critically important that we have a seat at the table. I'm tired of back of the bus Black agenda. I'm tired of the Black agenda just being something that the Blacks take care of.
Say that.
Our entire administration needs to be focused on this, but there is so much at stake here. And one of the important things, a lot of people might think, well, these are bills, Mitch McConnell is, the majority leader. What difference does it make? I want to see not what you say, but what you do. I want to see what works you've put in. What do they say? Faith without works is what do they? Somebody help me out. Who can help me out?
Faith without works is dead.
There you go. Okay, so I can't have faith in what you say if you're not working on it. And there are a lot of people, and we've seen a long presidential campaign that had certain energy. They had PDFs, they had talking points, but then now that they're back to work, what are they working on? It ain't this. It is not this. And so what are you going to be working on in the future? When you have the job, are you going to be working on this kind of stuff? Are you going to be working on tackling these racial disparities? Or are you going to go back to business as usual because you already got the Blacks as you proceed? And so that's why this is critically important, to really take this moment and pay attention to who is working on what. Pay attention to what the priorities are. Kamala Harris has put forth an exhaustive and wide agenda when you talk about the racial disparities and racial and ethnic disparities task force. You also talk about her tackling racial profiling. We've seen just this week how the police have been brutalizing and murdering even Black men. And that's not stopping because we're in the middle of a pandemic. And in fact, it seems to be exacerbated by the fact that we're in the middle of a pandemic. And so she's tackled that. She's tackled so many things today. I hate to squeeze this in, but she introduced her, what was it called? Oh, I had it on the tip of my tongue. Somebody help me out. It's the economic crisis. What was it? Monthly economic crisis, something or another. Anyway,
stimulus bill.
All I know is it's a coin.
She's trying to put $2,000 a month in your pocket. Okay, if you got kids, you get $2,000, $1,000 a month per kid, not $500 one-time payment, $1,000 a month. And let me just quote some statistics as to why this is important. When it comes to the Black community in particular, 46% of Black people have said that they have lost income as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. This bill is retroactive to March. It's throughout the course of the pandemic, and it's 3 months after the pandemic as well. Latinos, 61% have experienced loss of income. 43% of white Americans have experienced loss of income. We're at 14.7% unemployment rate for Black people is 16.7%. We're at Great Depression levels. And so it is incredibly important that we look at what people are doing. What are their works? What are their deeds? If it doesn't pass, that's on Mitch McConnell, but that does not give you an excuse to not even be worried about it. And so I got the name now, Monthly Economic Crisis Support Act. That's what Kamala Harris put forth with y'all's progressive king, Bernie Sanders.
Uh-oh.
He's on the bill.
How y'all feeling?
Hey,
It is.
girl working. Okay.
What y'all got? Cheers. Y'all will never hear me say this except for today. Cheers to Bernie Sanders.
Okay, come on now.
Hey.
Come on, Bernard.
Co-sponsor.
Make sure that's right. Co-sponsor. He ain't making that.
We'll shout
It
it
says, if you go to the bill, it says Miss Harris for herself and Ed Markey and Bernie Sanders. So shout out to Ed Markey and Bernie Sanders, but most importantly, shout out to Kamala Harris because her words and her deeds is gonna put money in your pocket. She's gonna make sure you can walk down the street with your mask or not your goddamn mask in peace if you're a Black person in America and not worried about getting gunned down. And she's gonna make sure that FEMA is putting the resources in our communities because a lot of people, Black people, I know we're a little conspiratorial, but it does kind of seem like, and I'm sorry to take over, but I'm gonna wrap it up with this. It does seem like they just okay with Black folks dying. Okay, we're gonna open up the country because it's just the Black folks dying. But Kamala Harris says, not today, Satan, because we're gonna have this task force and we're gonna make sure that in the article came out the other day in Washington Post that the cities that are disproportionately Black make up 60% of the fatalities. Okay, they make up a majority of the cases, and so that's not gonna fly if we go on ahead and get through this racial and ethnic disparities task force, because FEMA is going to be accountable for disclosing how resources are being sent to these communities so that we are not left behind. We do not need to be on the chopping block. They're not gonna kill us. NAACP said, hashtag we are not dying. And we're
Absolutely
not. We're not gonna die. We're not gonna lay down and die. And we're gonna make sure that we put somebody at the seat at the table who is going to make sure of it as well. And that's all
Absolutely.
I
Well, for those of you who don't know, Reecie was on Roland Martin Unfiltered yesterday with Reverend John Gray. Looks like a little bit of the Reverend rubbed off on Reecie. We're going to call that a trial sermon.
Ooh, you feeling the
It's a
spirit,
sermon or
Reecie.
it's a martini. I don't know
What
which
you-
one you can
And I
be
got
good.
What you preach. You
Yeah.
preach. I'm ready to pass the plate around. We got to go ahead. But seriously.
Y'all church today.
Amen. But no, that's absolutely right. And one of the things you have to understand is Kamala Harris is a woman with a bachelor's in economics. So let's just understand that she understands that people need help, that there are things that you need to do to stimulate the economy, make sure that we don't fully collapse. One of the things is making sure that normal American people need it, get the financial support they need from the government that's supposed to be up by the people and for the people. Also, on people by people and for the people are our small businesses. And there is an act that she's actually working on with Ayanna Pressley for the Small Business Save Our Streets Act. Heather, can you tell me about that?
Love so.
Okay.
Love so.
Hey, so I guess I'm just gonna be doing toasts to everybody because I want to do a toast to Miss Senator Kamala Harris. Let me be correct here.
Okay.
And
I got my juicy juice.
And Representative Ayanna Pressley for this amazing bill that they put forth. This has been hailed by everybody and their mama. Everybody's excited about this, advocates, experts, everyone. I'm extremely excited about it because this has been one of my major concerns since all of this even took, not necessarily for my business, because thankfully my business being that it's design and marketing and everyone is now having to go online, they kind of need what I'm offering. But I moved to Arizona, and since I got here, there's already businesses in the area that have had to shut down for good. And so I can only imagine, you know what I mean, what it looks like all over the country. So just about the bill, the bill is called the Saving Our Streets Act. And for short, it's the SOS Act. What they are trying to do is it is going to be an assistance fund of $125 million that is dedicated strictly to micro businesses. And so what you will get is if you apply, if you have less than 10 employees, and you apply and you are accepted, you will get up to $250,000 grant.
Money.
So that could be the difference, like I said yesterday, in people having to close their doors or be able to keep their doors open during this time. I think it's incredible what they're doing. I'm so excited about this. I really hope that it goes into the next package. I've been telling everybody, like, if you can, get out there, tell everyone about it, because people need to know about it. And they really need to understand that a key portion of it is that 75% of the funds are going to go to underprivileged community, underrepresented, you guys know what I'm talking about.
Underrepresented, yeah.
The alcohol's kicking in, y'all. Underserved businesses. So it's going to go to women. It's going to go to minority-owned businesses. And so if you are one of those, then this is going to be for you, and you need to be calling up your representatives. You need to be telling everybody about it, because this is so, so important. I don't know anyone who has gotten access to the PPP loans. So hello, like, y'all need to open your eyes and really just look into this and tell everybody.
Heather. Did you have something to say? Go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, obviously it's critical. I think CBS News did a report last time around that 95% of Black business owners didn't get any access to the first round of money. 75% Asian-owned businesses didn't get any money. 91% of Latino businesses didn't get any money. So they were shut out. And we saw that some rather large businesses, large white-owned businesses that didn't actually need that money, took that money. And some of them are like, loophole, and they're not giving the money back. So I'm so glad that you brought this up, because it's absolutely critical that this third time around, hopefully, is the charm.
For sure.
You pretty much said the same thing that I was gonna say. But literally, so you just took it right out my mouth, but it's cool. But I want a lot of people to understand that a lot of businesses, a lot of small businesses are Black-owned small businesses. We make a good portion of those businesses. So this is gonna help our community. And I want people to also, just particularly Black women, to take a pat on the back, because you guys make the most percentage of small businesses for Black women. So I hope all of y'all understand that y'all know how to get a coin, and Kamala trying to help y'all catch a coin. So just keep it on.
And we can toast to that.
Yeah, and I also want to just shout out the Congressional Black Caucus, because the Congressional Black Caucus, period, the conscience of the Congress, cheers, has been all over pointing out the fact that Black people in particular have been shut out of these COVID relief bills as it relates to small businesses. And so shout out to Senator Kamala Harris, as you said, Heather, and Ayanna Pressley, hashtag Black Women Lead, hashtag Black Girl Magic. When Black women lead, we have a more just and equitable society, but we cannot forget that the Congressional Black Caucus is also on the team of fairness and justice for small business owners.
Speaking of small business, also bear in mind that during the Trump administration, Black businesses have actually decreased in the amount of funding that we typically have. So that's pre-pandemic. So it's only been escalated and accelerated henceforth. But again, with someone with the foresight of Kamala Harris, with someone with the ability to connect with folks, especially like Ayanna Pressley, who they both share very similar values moving forward. This, I like to think, as an optimist, may be the beginning of a wonderful, wonderful relationship politically. But we won't delve too deep into that right now.
Kamala said that Ayanna Pressley is her homegirl. She said that they're good friends, and so Ayanna's new to Congress. It's one thing I can always love about Kamala is she mentors up and comers, Black women. She's done that throughout her entire career. She's endorsed Black women in primaries. She's making endorsements right now for today. It was Vote Jackie NY, who is trying to unseat Peter King in New York. And so she always makes sure she reaches back. What does Kamala say? You might be the first, or her mom told her this, you might be the first, and make sure you're not the last. And so that's
absolutely.
It's much more beneficial to come together and eat. We can all get to see the table. When we get to the table, we want to make sure that we all eat. Speaking of eating, there is the Feed Act. Kenny,
All
tell us
right.
about that?
Yeah, it's a mouthful. Let me go ahead and get this together. It's called the FEMA Empowering Essentials Delivery Act, or in other words, FEED Act. She's trying to make sure, but pretty much what Kamala Harris said in the first, debate, how everybody was literally arguing and stuff like that. She said she didn't want to witness a food fight. She wants to put food on the table. Kamala Harris is making sure that our bellies is food and we about to eat, okay? So what the FEED Act pretty much does is she's partnered up with Chef Jose Andres and the World Central Kitchen to make sure that they're actually funding small businesses, small restaurants, so that way they can actually feed malnourished children, the elderly. But the one thing about the bill particularly is that it's going to be completely 100% government funded. Most of the time, it's about 75% that we actually give out, but Kamala Harris is trying to make sure it's 100%. And the problem with most of this, the problem that we're experiencing right now is a lot of people, we're having a high level of food insecurity in America. A lot of people aren't able to eat. Like, I don't qualify for food stamps, and like literally I lost about a good 20% of my hours. So this could actually help a lot of people who are literally in my same situation. So this is really personable, at least for me. I don't know about y'all, but one cool thing about this whole entire thing is that it's co-sponsored by not just Democrats, but Republicans as well. So it's bipartisan. So she's reaching across the aisles, making sure she's making these connections with other people, making allyships. I think Tim Scott's on it, and then Rodney Davis is also Republican. And the thing that kind of just stood out to me is that Tim Scott's actually a Republican in South Carolina. And I don't know if y'all know South Carolina, but they don't believe in giving y'all shit, okay? I'm right there on the board. I'm just letting y'all know they are selfish. Oh, my goodness. But even Tim Scott even said to himself that this is a win-win. It's a win-win for businesses. It's a win-win for farmers, because that's also going to help them because they're actually distributing the supplies. So this is amazing.
Can I jump in for a second? Tim Scott is the same person that said that you folks should not get $600 a week extra in unemployment benefits, because then people would stop working. So
exactly.
for him to hop on this bill to try to feed hungry people and help people who have food insecurity is a testament to Kamala Harris's ability for bipartisanship and to convince people for a change to see the humanity in those who are struggling.
Exactly. I told y'all, they selfish, child.
Oh, they're selfish, but you need to.
Can I get in real quick?
Go ahead.
What I say is that, we've talked about 3 bills so far just in the last week, and what you can see is that each one of these is connected. We're talking about food insecurity in our communities. We're talking about taking care of small businesses in our communities. We're talking about taking care of people with the racial profiling. Like, everything is connected to taking care of us and specifically our communities. So I know we're going to keep going down here, but I want people to just continue to connect those dots, because you just see how everything just works together.
I also want to say too, because they love to show the Black folks in line for Jordans or for sneakers at the store. Where is that same energy to show the miles long line of people in line for the food banks? That's the image that's really damning. Not what people choose to do with their discretionary funds and how they choose to go to the sneaker store. It is damning that in America, people have to wait in line for food banks. That's what we need to be focused on.
Amen.
That's absolutely true. But again, all that takes reaching across the aisle, bipartisanship, being able to coalesce and find common ground. You don't get anywhere for it. A house divided against itself cannot stand. Somebody in history said that. I think we know it was Abraham Lincoln. I'm not even I don't know, but it still serves true today. So, I think that's what you need in a leader. Barack Obama had it. He was able to reach across the aisle, get people to actually come together. We don't really agree on much, but find a common ground. Let's work together. Let's get it done. Sydney, what can you tell us about bipartisanship and working together?
Yeah, no, Drew, thank you so much for that awesome introduction and that quote from Lincoln, because it is proving true. A house divided is, set to fall. And the one thing that Kamala has proven within, just throughout her career, but really within the last like 2 to 3 years, especially with her work in the Senate, is that she has proven that she is able to reach across the aisle and bring people into her ideology, into her circle when it comes to passing and getting the bills passed that she needed, that she wants to get passed. And that is going to be so important for someone who is looking to, ultimately become, president at some point, just as she was running for president. We can see, that she is not a divider, but a unifier. And it is so, it's so imperative to have someone who is a unifier in the White House coming forward, because we need someone who is willing to, bring all of the branches together. We know that, bills do not get passed without Republican, assistance and the assistance with of independents. We know that, we need that support. And, Kamala introduces not just progressive bills, but bills that are going to pass, bills that make sense. And that is what's so important in this fight. And I think that that's an element that's been missing quite a bit from this conversation that we've been having during this primary. We can talk about plans, we can talk about, initiatives all day long, but when you start to break down, the small and fine print, you start to move further away from from the original ideology as it stands, and then before you know it, you're completely away from that idea altogether. And that's the only thing that gets passed at the end of the day is the watered down, diet, chopped down version of the original plan. And what we're seeing is that Kamala has a strength in not doing that. She is bringing people on board with first drafts of bills, which means that she's, put together, language that, resonates with, centrists, with progressives, with conservatives. And she's able to communicate this language in a way that makes sense to these people. So they're backing her. We see this with, with her work with AOC on the climate justice bill that they have partnered with. We see this with Ayanna Pressley and the SOSA Act. We see this with the FEED Act and her bringing in those freshmen and those established Republican members of Congress and the House of Representatives. So time and time again, we're seeing Kamala make that effort to really bring as many people on board as possible. She is what I consider to be the great unifier that is so needed in a time where division is, it's the feature, not the bug. It is, the exception, not, it's the rule, I should say, not the exception. And what we've seen from Kamala is that she has what it takes to put maybe her personal feelings aside, maybe, some of the feelings that she's had, about certain, about politics or, certain beliefs. And we see that Kamala is able to sell these ideologies and these ideas that she is bringing to the table. And she's bringing people on board that may not necessarily have been on board prior. And she's breaking down barriers in a way that we haven't seen in quite some time. And I think that that is so important for someone who is looking to be the leader of, the free world, essentially. And that, to me, in my opinion, makes Kamala the trailblazer that she is. And that's why she is the second most progressive sitting senator that we have in this country. And that is and that is a true testament to what she's going to do in the future. Kamala is just getting started, and what she does is she doesn't stop working. No matter what, she's not going to take no for an answer. So I think that we have to have a fearless leader, and Kamala is that leader that we need. Simple as that.
Well, like I say all the time, Damian Lillard ain't the only trailblazer from Oakland, but
okay, talk about it.
I'll catch that later.
Ooh.
You'll figure it out. In regards, anyone have a response to Sydney?
Well, what I think we need to do is we all need to chip in. We need to, throw in some money so that way we can go to sleep experts and get Kamala Harris a good new mattress, because I know she's tired. She's working non-stop, y'all.
Child, please say that. Lord have mercy.
Oh my goodness, she is everywhere. She does not rest at all. Kamala Harris is working hard for all of us right now, okay?
Sleep, period.
Sydney, to your point, I think it's really important that people understand that we have co-equal branches of government, right? So we have the executive branch, which is the administration, y'all's president, and then we have the Congress, but Congress has two chambers. It has the Senate, it has the House. It's really important to note that Kamala Harris, actually cooperates and works with the House. Most of her bills, in particular the more recent bills, have a companion legislation in the House. And we've seen where, for instance, her Marijuana Justice Act passed in the House. She collaborated with Representative Congressman Jerry Nadler. Also, aspects of her Black maternal mortality bill, the Maternal Care Act, have gone through the House. And so these are very, very doable things that are seeing progress in the House because we have the great leadership of Speaker Nancy Pelosi. And so, again, taking it back to what's at stake in November 2020 and why we need a seat at the table is we need a person. One of the key aspects of being vice president is these interactions with the Senate. We know that, Vice President Joe Biden, you let him tell you, he's been talking to this person, he's responsible for that, he did this, X, Y, and Z. I don't know if it was co-president or vice president, but all I got to say is that if we have a vice president with Kamala's experience, with Kamala's relationships, with Kamala's expertise, and Kamala's efforts, then we're going to see better results. And that's what we need, because the time for rhetoric is over. It's too much at stake for rhetoric. It's too much at stake for bullet points. It's too much at stake for PDFs. We need goddamn results because people are dying in these streets from COVID and all other kinds of stuff. Mm-hmm. And so Kamala can get it done. And that's why we need her as VP.
Period. And I'd like to interject there. Reecie, just to your point, this is why it is so important not just to focus on, the seat of the presidency and the vice presidency, but to also focus on down ballot races. We need to take back the Senate. You will not get any of your agendas passed if Mitch McConnell is still sitting in his seat. And that needs to be stressed. That means that we need to be donating to his opponents. We need to be figuring out, how do we take our power back? Because we can talk all day long. I can talk about a progressive agenda until I'm blue in the face. But the fact of the matter is that there are there are about 500 bills that are sitting on Mitch McConnell's desk to this day. He brags about being what I call Murder Mitch, okay? Because he goes and he literally is the Grim Reaper when it comes to passing bills. He has made this a point. So guess what? Murder Mitch needs to lose his contract, okay? And we need to be death row records on this. We need to push forward power in the Senate, okay? And that is sponsored by Suge Knight. Word to the West Coast.
I will say this, I feel like Murder is way too cool a name for him. Like, it makes sense, but that sounds so like way too cool for him. It just, no, but
Munchkin Mitch, Munchkin Mitch,
Well, Munchkin Mitch, we'll work
Michelin
on that.
Mitch, he got that fat name.
Moscow Mitch works.
Well, Moscow Mule. But let's think about Mitch McConnell for a second, because so many wonderful progressive bills that would help all Americans, Republicans, Democrats, Independents, Black, White, Latino, Asian, everyone on every spectrum of America. Once they've gotten to him, have died. His agenda has been to do just that. But then we have to face, we see the outcome, and we see how people are struggling now. And then one of the things is, you're gonna have to deal with as far as Vice President Kamala Harris, President Joe Biden is, there's got to be some accountability there from Mitch McConnell in this upcoming election. There's got to be some accountability. I know he has an opponent coming up. I always want to say Jaime. I always want to call him Jaime, but it's Jamie. I keep wanting to say Jaime. But it reads like Jaime every time. Anyway, Jaime, have you ever been Spanish? I watched Spanish in high school. We would say Jaime. But in any regard, no, but there has to be accountability there. There has to be accountability for the failures of this administration. There has to be accountability for the people who are suffering, who have unnecessarily suffered. The interest of the American people was really never at the forefront of this administration. The interest of Donald Trump, the financial interest of Donald Trump and his family, his empire, that's been at the forefront, and everyone else has kind of been siphoning off of that. Reecie, when it comes to accountability, what does that look like, Reecie, or what might that look like with a Biden-Harris administration?
Well, I think it looks a lot like if Joe Biden is wise enough to pick Senator Kamala Harris, it looks a lot like what we saw this week, where Senator Kamala Harris took the nominee, Congressman John Ratcliffe, to task for the fact that as the DNI, the Director of National Intelligence, it's his job to depoliticize the intelligence, which Donald Trump has done, okay? And so Senator Kamala Harris really, let me just be clear, got in his ass, okay? She put him on the spot and he was shaking, humana. Can you repeat the question? Don't they all need to repeat it? I thought she was clear. Kamala is, you know how people say, she speaks so well. She's so spoken. She speaks so well. So I heard her loud and clear. She said, has Donald Trump accurately conveyed the seriousness of COVID? I'm paraphrasing, but that's what she said. I figured it out. But he was humana. Can you repeat the question? Well, anyway, long story short, she got in his ass the same way she got in Bill Barr's ass, who this week has been exposed for being, once again, the right hand of Donald Trump rather than the right hand of the American people and on the side of justice. And so, but more importantly, I think Senator Kamala Harris has shown consistently, she sits on the Senate Judiciary Committee, which is a big deal, especially for a Black woman, okay? Senator Carol Moseley Brown was the first Black woman to be appointed to, well, we only had 2 Black women, okay? But be clear, it's not a common place for Black senators to be. And so this week we had Mitch McConnell marching. Instead of worrying about coronavirus and the pandemic response, he's trying to get as many young, white, male, super far-right ideological judges confirmed. And so Senator Kamala Harris has been calling attention to this fact. I would like for people to call attention to the fact that Donald Trump is getting all these white male judges rather than dangling a Black Supreme Court justice. We have some immediate issues that we need to address. But anyway, I digress. The moral of the story is that we have, as a legislator, right, Senator Kamala Harris introduces bills. These bills are important, like I said, the works, the deeds, but they also have oversight capability. And so back in February, Senator Kamala Harris was calling attention to the fact that the Trump administration was blocking administration officials from testifying to Congress. These administration officials are actually accountable to Congress. It's co-equal, but that does not mean that you can escape accountability, all right? And so when we look at her bills, but also we look at the letters that she's sending, we look at the correspondence that she's having with the administration officials, she's all about accountability. And so what does that mean? That means that if she has input into the people that will be appointed to these positions in a Biden administration, or a Biden-Harris administration sounds better to me, then we know that there are going to be people in there that are going to be making sure that they're focused on these issues. Today, this isn't a federal issue, but she recently tweeted about this evening about her work in terms of she has been pushing the Bureau of Prisons to release low-level, nonviolent, or people who are nearing the end of their sentences, getting them released. Well, she
steady getting people out of jail.
It's very disturbing. Forgive me for pulling this up. I might be a little sloppy with it, but I'm going to just reference this. I'm going to reference this thread because I think it's really important to see that, you know, this stuff matters and this advocacy matters. And being the first senator to pay attention to the fact that, hey, we're going to create a crisis in our prison system. Everybody can be prison abolitionists all day long, but we still got prisons right now. So what you gonna do about people who are in prison? Are you going to do something about their safety? Are you gonna do something to try to get them released if they're low-level offenders or nonviolent offenders, aging offenders, or vulnerable populations? Shouldn't have to be rich and white to get out of jail, or you could be young and white or Latino, like Tekashi 6ix9ine, who just released he went to jail for all kind of shit. Now he's sitting up there on Instagram Live. Meanwhile, there's people that's in jail for much less, but they don't have the coin. And so anyway, I'm digressing and a whole lot. Forgive me, it's the Martini child, but
Lord Jesus.
I know. I'm trying to find it. Maybe it's under her Senator Kamala Harris part.
Well, while you finding it, let me just make a quick point. Just because Kamala Harris is holding, Trump's administration accountable, doesn't mean that she's running for AG, y'all. I'm so sick of y'all. Let me tell y'all something. Just because she's able to grill these people, and just because your senators, just because the people who are in office right now doesn't have the same vernacular and same ability as Kamala Harris, does not mean that they can't rise to the occasion. Okay. Kamala Harris is waiting for that VP position, okay? And it wouldn't make any sense for her to go for a position that she already turned down when she was with Barack Obama. Can we stop trying to demote Black women, please?
Thank you.
That's all I want to say.
We're not doing the back of the bus stuff. We're not doing the 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th ranked cabinet position chair. We're going to be VP, period. Sorry, Heather, you want to say something?
Yeah, I just want to add that, and to, former Vice President Joe Biden, I think what he also needs to recognize is that there is a high demand for Kamala. That just this week, that video went viral, and every single time that she's giving it to somebody, it goes viral. I mean, hundreds of thousands of views, and that is just on Twitter alone.
Thank you.
So, I mean, if we're talking about enthusiasm,
Excite by popular demand.
Excite the base.
Well, one of the things I say exactly, there is a demand, and one of the keys to a good economy is understanding supply and demand. If you're a smart person, you supply the demand. So I'm gonna write that down just in case I decide to start rapping. You never know what kind of hit I might find.
I'm pretty sure
it's quarantine. But
there's a Jay-Z lyric in there somewhere that you got. You just can't think of it right now.
I'm sure there may be, but what I can also say is, I'm sorry, Reecie, did you have the?
I have it, but it's okay. Go ahead. Let's move on.
All right.
I made my point. Y'all can tell me, do I make my point or not?
I tell you what, they can follow her. They can follow you at Black Women Views. I promise you, she will have it right there on the timeline. She might do a video on it. But I do want to speak of what is happening in our recent timeline. Is that our forever First Lady, Miss Michelle Obama, the Queen, her Majesty. Listen. I am so comfortable saying that. The crown. They say heavy is the crown. I think she wears it well. But
can I just interject here and say shout out to the South Side of Chicago?
Shout out to the South Side. That's right. Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Michelle Obama, girl from the South Side.
She said, I'm from the South Side of Chicago. That should tell you everything you need to know about me. And that's South for y'all, okay? 773 to the 708 to the 312 to the 815. Listen to it.
There was a song came out there long ago say you don't want it with the South Side. So
y'all better say that.
But in any regards, she actually did come out on Netflix. Her Becoming Special did come out on Netflix. Very insightful, very enlightening. She's been able to be very candid since leaving the White House, obviously in her book and now with Netflix, and she has not held her tongue, which makes sense because she's from Southside Chicago. That's probably what I expect. Maya, when it comes to the headlines that circles of someone so polarized, I don't want to say polarizing, but someone who is so magnetizing, someone who is so grandiose, how do we deal with the headlines and then reading past those?
Well, one of the things I was pretty upset with, frustrated, but not surprised by this week was an article circulated on the Daily Beast by a guy named Kevin Fallon. And the headline was, okay, first of all, let me just say this. People who write articles, I'm one of them, we don't get to pick the headline, okay? So I'm not faulting Kevin, but they pulled a headline. And basically, the headline said, Michelle Obama is mad at our folks, not Trump voters. That's my trauma. What a horrific, out of context headline. Lord. Then people that I respect, like Hannah Nicole Smith, who did the 1619 Project, and people that I respect less. Yes, I'll say it. Aston from the New York Times. Aston, I don't know. Me and him, we have problems. We got issues. Okay, I'm surprised he hasn't blocked me yet. But they were ready to trash Michelle Obama from the headline of that article. First, let me say there was a study done by Columbia University and a French organization where they found out that only 6 out of 10 people do not read the headline before they share it. So they share the headline, they comment on it, and they throw it, but they don't read the inside of the article. Okay, this is such a dangerous precedent, right? So this article ends up getting picked up by conservative places like the Daily Caller ends up picking it up. I think Politico wrote an article about it. And what was problematic about it is it just shows you right away that cancel culture, especially when it comes to Black women, is another tool of erasure, okay? So they were getting ready to erase everything about Michelle Obama's accomplishments. First, let me say this. That clip, that thing that they said, that they took out of context, comes towards the end of the film. It's about 18 minutes left of the film. It's 1 whole minute, and it's from 2 clips spliced together. Michelle Obama has no control over who edited that film and that movie. She could have had a massive conversation, and the editor decided, I like this clip, and I like this clip, and I can put it together. 1. 2, Michelle Obama is not incorrect when she says this. And let me say this. I'm someone who works on voter issues. I'm a voting rights advocate. It is very complex why people are prevented from voting, can't vote, or don't vote, or who they vote for. It is not so simplistic. Also, Michelle Obama is a brilliant woman. She went to Princeton, she went to Harvard. She doesn't need to prove herself. I'm really frustrated that she has this long history of fighting for voting rights, discussing voting rights. She talked about poll closures. The fact that people were willing to drag her for a headline is so upsetting and frustrating to me, okay? One of the things that I want to say where she is correct, there was less people that voted. And one of the things I want to talk about was some people, part of the reason why voting rights is so complicated, and I mentioned this the first episode, Bernard L. Fraga talked about the fact that a lot of voters in this culture, and BIPOC voters, Black, Indigenous, people of color, have been shown that their vote doesn't really count. And even when they do participate, their policy issues and their needs aren't met, okay? So there are people that are saying, you know what, fuck it. No one's helping me out. They're not looking after me. So maybe I won't vote. So when Michelle Obama says that, there is a grain of truth to that. There are some people that chose not to vote. And by the way, she was not just speaking to Black voters. I want to underline this. She said young people, old people, middle-aged. She mentioned all demographics of people that didn't come out to vote.
And women. She said
women. And she said women. She meant all women that didn't show up. I'm sorry. And the white women that voted for Trump, I'm sorry, come on. So what I'm saying is it is very dangerous to distill ideas from just the headlines. By the way, Republicans know this, and they weaponize that headline. They know that article and that study came out in June of 2016. You don't think that Trump's people knew at that point then to weaponize headlines through conservative media, that their people were just going to read that and move on? But I am disappointed in someone like Hannah Nicole Smith, who I respect very much, that she would immediately participate in cancel culture and that. Aston, I'm not surprised by. And I want to talk to you, Aston, person to person, because I'm very disappointed. And I'm disappointed that I treated Kamala Harris, and I'm not over it. Let me just say that, okay? So that is my piece. I just want you all to know that. And please, everybody, let me just say this. Please watch Becoming, because Michelle is just so beautifully honest and vulnerable and talking about this, and how this is what I'm so frustrated about. One of the things that she talked about in the film was she has to be vulnerable. She gets to be vulnerable for the first time, and the second that she's attacked for it. So let's just talk about the obvious there. So feel free to chime in on that. Thank you for letting me rant for a full 5 minutes there.
That was the catharsis. That's what that was. That was the catharsis.
I love that. I just want to jump in on your point, Maya, as well as your point, Reecie, and just talking about my experience, as a voter in the last 10 years. I turned 18 in 2010, so, y'all can guess my age. And that was the first year that I was eligible to vote. And I can remember I was away at school. That year, you know, there was a really, really tough race in Illinois for governor. And that was the year that Illinois went red. And I was away at school. I didn't know how to do an absentee ballot. I was dealing with college. I was so stressed out from all of that. And because I didn't know how to do an absentee ballot and I knew I wasn't going to be able to go home, I chose, unfortunately, at that time, not to vote because I didn't think it was necessary. I'll admit that. I did not vote for, you know, in 2010, and that is one of my biggest regrets. That was the first year and the only year that I've never voted.
You traumatized Michelle Obama.
Yeah, you know, so I understand exactly what Michelle was talking about because I was actually one of those voters. For whatever reason that I had, I didn't have any voter apathy. It was literally just lack of knowledge. You know, I went to Northern Illinois University, and there wasn't a lot of resources on campus in 2010. I mean, people were still on campus with flip phones at the time. So there were a lot of things that were not available to us 10 years ago, a lot of information that wasn't available to us 10 years ago, and I was a teenager. So, yeah, there were a lot of people that thought that, you know, we had that figurehead, we had Barack Obama, that was it, that's all we needed. And I know because I can remember that mentality being amongst my peer group, because when I talk to people, you know, in the dorms about voting, they were all kind of like the same thing. Well, Barack Obama's in, we don't really need to do anything. And sure enough, Illinois went red, and that year, you know, we lost a ton of funding in the state. It impacted my hometown, you know, and it was, you know, my second hometown, I should say, outside of Chicago, which is a small suburban area in the south suburbs of Chicago. But, you know, we've barely made a recovery from that. You know, some of the things that I loved about my hometown no longer exist because, you know, we voted a Republican governor in, and he you know, took all of the funding from all of all of these small towns, especially the predominantly Black areas of Illinois. So I saw firsthand what not voting actually did in real time. So I applaud, you know, Michelle Obama and Maya, you as well, and everyone on this panel for bringing this particular issue to the forefront, because I had to learn that lesson the hard way as a young person. And when I realized the impact, I moved back home shortly thereafter that election in 2011. I came home and I transferred schools, and I have not missed an opportunity to vote since then. But we're still here in the state of Illinois. We're just now getting to a point where we're recovering with our phenomenal governor, J.B. Pritzker. Shout out to him. I was very proud to cast my vote for J.B. Pritzker, not just because I am a cannabis consumer, but because I understood. Oh yes. I happy 420, happy 520, happy all year round 20. You know what I'm saying?
Y'all got a Black woman lieutenant governor too. So
and I voted for her. I voted for that ticket, so I understand firsthand what it means to, you know, to put up, you know, to really walk that walk and not just talk that talk. And I want to, you know, send this message to potential voters. Even if you feel like you're in dire constraints right now, the best way to get your agenda passed is to get up and cast that ballot at the end of the day. We can talk about plans until we're blue in the face. I'm going to say this again, but the only way that you're going to get an agenda passed is by voting. Period.
Let me just say this too really quickly. A lot of people will think people don't vote because they're young or less educated, and that's just not true. I was in grad school at NYU, and there were people that were saying, Maya, do you know where the election is, right? I said, yesterday, okay? So,
no.
Yeah.
Girl.
Yeah. Okay. So I just want you to know one of the reasons that is because we do not have a voting culture, and Republicans have built that. They have made sure that we don't have a voting culture. And one of the reasons why Barack Obama lost in the midterms in 2010 is because the Tea Party was happening at that time period, and they were already starting to cause massive divisive ways. And I know Reecie knows this story. You know, the day that Barack was elected, Mitch McConnell and Newt Gingrich got their whiskey out, and they went to a back room at a bar in DC, and they said, we're going to make him a one-term president. And they meticulously planned how they were going to change that. And then by 2013, SCOTUS ruled that voting rights was no longer necessary, okay? So a lot of, and I think this is why people got mad at Michelle. They thought that she was blaming people. She was not blaming people necessarily. She was saying she wants them to come out and recognize the importance of that. But part of it is that we don't have a voting culture. We haven't invested in the infrastructure on purpose, and we're not telling people how valuable they are. And by the way, part of the study was that some of the people that voted for Hillary Clinton voted for her because they got a call saying to go vote. And the people that didn't vote said they never received a phone call, okay? That is I will be happy to post those links on Twitter, by the way. So it's very complicated, the unraveling of our system, which Putin's like,
perfect.
and McConnell is, and McConnell is.
Well, that's a good point, though. But that's a good point. But then again, we have to look at the way we recognize Black women. We see Michelle Obama, and now when she was Barack Obama, she's his first lady. She's adored. She's fantastic. Everything she is almost deified. I may be going a little too far with that, but I'll just say and keep it moving. But we also made the revelation earlier that if she were running for president right now, if she were seriously interested in vice president, her recognition would be akin to what Kamala Harris felt. Because all of a sudden people will remember, oh yeah, wait, that's a Black woman. Wait a minute, we have to, and all of a sudden we're pre-programmed to do that. So one of the issues I think is that we have to identify with ourselves as a country is the way we recognize Black women. Kenny,
absolutely.
How do we better our recognition, our Black women recognition, or what does that look like?
I think the best way of recognizing women is just every day. And this is something we can do, particularly like me and you, Drew, as Black men. I don't think that we protect Black women the way that we should. I think that we kind of just allow certain things to happen. I think what we need to do as Black men is to make sure that Black women feel that recognition, let them know, and, not be afraid to recognize the things that they do. Because, like I said, Black women are literally making up the most when it comes to entrepreneurship. There's nothing wrong with a Black woman making more money than a Black man. There's nothing wrong with that. And you shouldn't feel less than or inadequate when you see a Black woman excelling in the workplace or excelling in life in general, having a higher education, because Black women are the base of this country. And I just don't like, and I'm just going to go back to a small point what Maya was talking about. One thing I want y'all to understand is, don't fuck with Michelle Obama. Not with me. Not now. Not never. Because it ain't gonna happen. Okay. What I've seen throughout Barack Obama's tenure is a complete. And I think this is something we didn't necessarily do as Black people in general, as protect Michelle Obama the way we should have. When they misgendered her, when they talked about the way she looked, talk about her skin. Calling her a gorilla, dehumanizing one of the most beautiful first lady we've ever had in history, and the most educated, the most bright, the most, the best speaking woman I've ever heard. Because when Michelle Obama, I love Barack. I mean, I love him, but let me tell you, there's something when Michelle Obama is speaking, I shut the hell up and listen. Okay, there's something about a Black woman that really, and I'm gay, okay, y'all already know the situation, but I recognize the beauty and the power of Black women, okay? There's something about them, and it's something about particularly Kamala Harris that I think that scares most people. So when they see somebody able to work in these situations and be able to move across the aisle, get certain things done in a way of not needing any validation or backup in order to do that, like Black women are able to do, I think that kind of draws an insecurity or something that I think that I'm less than or something like that that's going on when it comes to, I guess, our society and how we view. But there's nothing wrong with seeing Black women exceed. And here's another point that I just want to say. When I just need everybody to just really pay attention about what's going on when it comes to Black women. I need all Black women to understand your power, what you have. Because there's something about you guys that with all the shit that you guys go through, all the hurdles, all the obstacles that you guys are faced with, you guys always exceed expectations every time. And I want Black women to recognize the power that they have. And when they see another Black woman like Michelle Obama, when they see a Kamala Harris working in these spaces, I want you to see yourself in Kamala. I want you to see yourself in Michelle Obama when you guys see these people, because these people are you. This is my sister. This is my brother. This is my aunt. This is my nieces. Literally, I want you guys to see yourself when you guys are looking at these women, because they're opening these doors and they're propping them open so that you can run through. They're not closing them behind them. So I want you guys to understand that we got to get rid of this crab in the barrel mentality. I'm not going to go into the main thing, but we just need to start lifting each other up. We need to start really uplifting our own people. And it's gonna take our voices to do that. We're going to need to really start speaking up, particularly black men, straight heterosexual black men, not just gay men, okay? I mean, I can't do it. It sounds better coming out of Drew's mouth.
I didn't just echo what you just said, my brother. Real. Hey, look, like, no cap, we really do need to stand up and support our black women. One of the jobs as a black man, and one of the things you're attached, or the black man rather, what you're attached with is being able to support your black woman, to get underneath and lift her up. You elevate. We lift. We make sure that she is valued and assisted. You can't do that. I think one of the issues that we've had, especially with heterosexual male culture, especially the toxic masculinity part of that, is that we feel that our manhood is defined by how much we dominate a woman. That's not it. And as a matter of fact, this is in keeping with what Kamala says, your true strength is not how many people you can beat down, it's what you can lift up. When you lift, see, when I want to prove my strength, if I want to prove I'm stronger than somebody else, I get underbar. We put some weight plates on that. You feel me? 315 on that bench. Let's see how much you can throw that up. You lift. You see, and that's how you do it. So the measure of a man, or one of the measures of man, whether it's just in normal interaction, whether it's romantic, whether it's just your fellow in fellowship, human fellowship, is how much you can lift, especially when it comes to our women, especially our black women. Can you lift her up? Can you support? Can you get underneath and say, baby, I got you. You do your thing. I'm going to make sure you got everything covered. I'm going to cover everything else. You just go do you. And that's that. And so that's one of the things, and that's one of the things I'm so glad, one of the reasons I'm so glad that Kamala was able to step up and do her thing, because that gave me the opportunity to, now I'm always doing it on a smaller scale, but now for the highest office on the planet, that I could then go ahead and say, I'm uplifted. Like, I feel like Bakari Sellers, I didn't know in the world, I can tell my children a black woman ran for president, and I didn't support it. Oh, no, we gonna make sure.
Okay.
Right. So, you know, that is the conviction that I feel. And you feel me? I told the girls I went to A&T with, and I'm like, look, y'all run for president, I'm gonna support you too. Believe that. But and that's just that's on that. No cap.
Let me say one more thing.
Go ahead.
But I just want to just acknowledge all these beautiful black women that are on this panel. I want you girls to give your own pat on the back. You know, take a sip. I mean, you guys are literally, and I want to also just say that you guys have actually inspired me to actually even be able to come out and speak out. Because if it wasn't for Reecie, if it wasn't for Maya, I wouldn't have been able to speak out. And I think that's something that we need to also, you know, acknowledge as men, is that when we see black women exceed or leading, it makes us want to step up. And it made me want to step up to the plate and do better. And I think that's what I really acknowledge and I just really love about y'all, okay? I just want y'all to know
Thank you.
Thanks, Kenny.
I love you, Kenny.
I want to interject here because I've had the honor of meeting forever First Lady Michelle Obama, and she is everything anybody can ever imagine, right? And she's incredible. If you want to say she was deified, she would absolutely be worthy of that. She's so genuine, so authentic, and so in tune with what everybody is going on. And I rehearsed what I was going to say because I knew I was going to meet her. So I was like, okay, what do I say? I'm only going to have 30 seconds. What do I say to her? So anyway, she's incredible. She's everything. She transforms the room. She's, you know, so I went to the White House and there was a holiday reception, and you can see her really looking and connecting with people in the audience. It wasn't transactional for her. It was more like, hey girl, how you doing? You know, so she had that energy, right? And so she worked the rope line, and President Obama, I love him too. I didn't get to meet him, but you know, Michelle is my favorite. And you know, he was working it, hey, how you doing? Hi, how you doing? Hi, how you doing? You know, he was all presidential and shit. But then you had Michelle, And Michelle was just warm and she was inviting. She is. And so when she got to me, I don't mean to take off, but I had to tell the story, okay? I've told this a million times and I'm gonna tell you guys today. And so when she got to me, I was like, I love you. You were Black girl magic. And I'm gonna tell you, I watched her work the whole world blind, okay? But when she got to me and I called her Black girl magic, she gave me a hug. I just lost my shit. Now, not in front of her, I kept it cool, but I squealed and everybody was looking at me like, bitch, how you get a hug? I was like, I'm Black girl magic. Hey, I got you. So anyway, the magic words, I said, Michelle, you're a Black girl magic. So anyway, I say all that to say that as incredible as First Lady Mrs. Michelle Obama is, she's a Black woman. And Michelle Obama knows that y'all are full of shit. Michelle Obama knows that if she was running for president, Michelle Obama knows that if she was running for vice president, y'all would eat her motherfucking ass alive just the same way you did for them 8 years, plus the year and a half that President, then Senator Barack Obama was running. She knows that y'all ain't shit. She knows how y'all did her and she ain't falling for it. But becoming on Netflix tells y'all full of shit. I saw y'all. I ain't fucking with y'all. I ain't have nothing to do with y'all. I know that people love me, but I know that people hate on me too. And y'all ain't shit. And so I say all that to say is that I hold this Black woman, not that Black woman energy. You're not fooling anybody. Okay? Michelle Obama, I love her. I adore her. She does not want to be vice president. So quit motherfucking dangling goddamn Michelle Obama. Vice president, oh, draft Michelle. Oh, if Michelle was on the ticket, shut the fuck up. Michelle Obama does not want to be vice president, okay? Now, we know that Stacey Abrams wants to be vice president.
Oh, yeah, she thirsty for that position.
She said she's not campaigning, but that's okay. But this is live with the KHive. We want Michelle, we want Kamala Harris to be vice president. So if you for that Black woman hashtag Black woman lead energy, you have a Black woman that's a sitting U.S. senator of the most populous state of the 5th largest economy in the world, who's doing the work, not the rhetoric, but the work that you can support. So quit dangling our forever first lady, our beloved first lady for vice president. She doesn't want it. She knows y'all ain't shit.
And I'm
doesn't want it.
The queen has spoken.
And gone ahead and support Senator Kamala Harris. That's all I got.
Thank you. And I'm gonna just go ahead and interject here as a fellow Black girl from the South Side of Chicago. We can smell the bullshit a mile away, honey. You're not gonna pull nothing over. We have to navigate this city, okay? And anybody know anything about Chicago, Reecie, you know, because you used to live out here. You know, we keep it 100. We are the city of long-winded talkers, so we know bullshit a mile away because we spit it, okay? We are the ones that talk that talk. We got them shoulders. We walk that walk, okay? And baby, this is the land of pimps. You can't pimp us. You can't pimp us into nothing. We know. We already with it. And Michelle Obama is true to that, okay? Not new to that, okay? Ask about it, okay?
All right, man.
And what I is just to add on, even though I'm not gonna do all that, y'all, because I gotta stay on brand.
This is my brand.
No, I did not.
I'm just playing.
Y'all know I don't do the dragging.
I'm just a player in the game, guys.
Thank you very much. But no, what I just wanted to say is, use this time while everything is slow, while you know what I mean, you're doing more, speaking to your family, your friends on these Zoom calls, plug these policies, talk about what is going on, you know what I mean? Like what Sydney was saying about when she missed the opportunity to vote the first time, and then all of a sudden she ended up with a Republican as governor, you know what I mean? That's because there was no one who was in her ear like, Sydney, this is important. You need to be into this. You need to be doing that. And so this is an opportunity for us to do that. So don't be getting on Twitter and dragging folks all day. You don't need to do that all day.
Get up and vote, honey.
Do that Wednesday, you can do that Friday, you can do that Sunday, and then Tuesday, Thursday, all the other days you could get on your Zoom calls and plug Kamala's policies. There's other things that people can do other than just sitting on Twitter dragging folks.
Period.
Yeah.
I drag
Yes,
people from
God.
ballot booths, honey. I would drag people. I drag people as I'm voting, okay? As I'm clicking.
Well, you can multitask.
Look, not
Nobody's
everybody
saying-
not everybody can multitask like a black woman. Okay.
Okay, I'm just saying.
I mean, I'm not a black woman, but we multitask, okay?
Okay.
We could drag. Here's a policy. Here's a drag. Here's a policy. Let me tell you what Kamala's doing.
Yeah.
But speaking of, so I just want just something before we close this out. Okay, since this is live with the KHive, we have to be vigilant. I've been seeing a lot of articles, particularly coming out from the conservative outlets about Kamala Harris. They are very scared that if Joe Biden picks her, that, you know, obviously he's going to win if he picks Kamala Harris. So we have to be on our toes, and we have to be ready for when these attacks are come. And I don't know if y'all, but I know the rest of the panel is ready for when that war happens. Because can't nobody bring a receipt, drag you, and educate you at the same time like the KHive. So I hope y'all are ready for that. So
I will just also add that it is conservative outlets. They are vicious, but the way that I will just say legacy media, which is media that's been around for a very long time, New York Times, Washington Post, they also do a terrible job that way as well. I mean, we should hold them accountable as well. Okay. They, I think I've told you all before that I had to like clinic Ali Vesey, and I clinicked Jonathan Allen about talking about Kamala because it was incorrect. So I had a conversation with Jonathan Allen about it. So it's really frustrating that we have to do that, but and I think that we should all get paid to do things like that. But during this time period, we should all be holding them accountable regardless. We need our press, we need them to report, but we also need to remind them that their white gaze on these on this reporting will be checked.
I agree.
All right, keep that foot on that neck.
I just want to jump in on that because I did make a point on that on my timeline earlier today. If you are following me on Twitter, again, I am a student of journalism. I've been a student of journalism since 2009. I worked on my high school's newspaper. I started, like as a baby journalist, all the way up to, you know, my senior year of college, working with a columnist for the Chicago Sun-Times. Shout out to John Fountain, phenomenal professor, phenomenal columnist. From Roosevelt University. And the one thing that I want people to understand, just like, you know, we're seeing the, you know, the decline and demise of certain Black owned, you know, media outlets such as Ebony Magazine, such as Jet Magazine, such as the Chicago Defender, the Times-Picayune out in New Orleans. Now, that's not necessarily a Black owned publication, but it was Black focused. What we're seeing is that, you know, these publications are falling to the wayside. Some of our viewers won't even know what these publications are. So I implore y'all, if you've never heard of these publications, please look them up, especially the Times-Picayune. They were one of the first publications on ground zero during Katrina. Some of the photos that these journalists took are in books, you know, historical books, archives for the state of Louisiana. They've done phenomenal work, but they no longer exist. And that's just a testament to, you know, how fallible some of these publications are. And I just to end on this note, you know, if you guys are seeing, you know, publications that are not being truthful, if they're being biased, if you're starting to see them move towards, you know, the mudslinging tabloid, you know, kind of like a routine in their bylines, you know, they're being, you know, malicious in op-eds, you can make your voice heard. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to subscribe. You can essentially deplatform these media outlets and letting them know that, you know, these media outlets with this white lens on, you know, a very diverse nation is they're not going to work. We cannot move forward by silencing, you know, the base of this nation, and that is minorities at this point. And we need and our public and our media rooms, they need to match what the public looks like. They need to match what's this, you know, what citizens look like in this country. And right now, that is not the case. You know what I'm saying? We cannot exist in a society with all, you know, with media rooms that are polarized in the way that they are in the United States. And I I implore all of my media folks out there, if you're listening to me, understand that what you guys are doing right now is not going to work in the future. And if you don't get on board with, you know what I'm saying? If you don't come over to Death Row Records, honey, you're going to figure it out, okay? Because we're going to steal we're going to get all the units. We're going to sell all the records. And just like the Chicago Defender, you will be a piece of history. So please be mindful. We have the power and we have voices, and we will not back down. We are not going to let what happened in 2016 happen again in 2020. You have been warned. Simple as that.
On game. And that's another episode.
Wait. Before we go, I do want to have a fun question.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. So we've been watching the verses, right? I mean, Teddy Riley versus Babyface, everybody else. So Saturday is Erykah Badu versus Jill Scott. I want to go around. I want to see, who do y'all got in this battle?
Well, let me start.
Versus Jill Scott. You go first.
Well, let me start that off real quick. I'm going with Jilly from Philly. I'm always repping West Philly. I'm West Philly. You know what I'm saying? North Fort Street. I already know where I come from. So I'm going to keep it down with hometown girl, Jilly from Philly. Much love to Erykah, but in 215, you already know what it is.
Okay. All right.
Gosh, I lived in Atlanta for a while. I know too much gossip. Let me just see. I want to keep that to myself. Let's see. You know, I'm going to side with Drew, actually. I'm going to go with Drew. I know too much stuff. Okay, I'm going to...
Uh-oh, she cut out. Uh-oh. Amaya,
I cut myself off.
She cut herself off. She said she was in Atlanta for a little bit, so we gonna keep it real. Who next? I
got. Lord, you know, the Virgo me would say Jill Scott because of the way she handled that microphone, but I think I'm going to go with Erykah Badu because she just, you know, I just need to light some incense and, you know, to get into it, you know. But anyways, man, go ahead.
Sydney.
Yes, child. So, okay.
You got the turban, so you leading.
Okay, look at me. I'm out here. Okay, what up? This is Ankara, y'all. I'm wearing. Okay, shout out to my brothers and sisters over there in the motherland and across the diaspora. Okay, let's do it, because I'm a Pan-Africanist. We don't do no diaspora wars over here. Okay, but I don't know, y'all. I'm gonna have to go with my girl Jilly from Philly, just because. And that's a tough one, because y'all know my girl Erykah, she dated Common, and you know Common is my boy, okay? Common, that's Chicago, okay? You know what I'm saying? We Chicago. I'm a Chicago win to Chicago end, okay?
And
but,
Andre.
You know, okay, but Jilly from Philly, it's just, that's a tough one. That, you know what? I don't know. I'm gonna go with Jill Scott for right now, just because of her albums. And the way that she, you know, that she has been able to, like, you know, put out these records in the last, you know, 10 years. But that's going to be a real tough one, because I want to see what they're going to do. I ain't going to lie. I'm excited.
Heather?
I mean, I love Jill, but the Badu.
That's right, Heather. That's right. I ain't the only one.
I don't even think it's close, to be honest with you. And I kind of feel like, y'all remember how Babyface showed up with the Grammys and the candles? I feel like Badu's gonna show up and just shut it down. I feel like it's gonna be a whole experience on her side, and
your girl Badu.
We gonna get lost in the hair, y'all.
Her secret weapon is her live performances. Like there's like 50 versions of Tyrone, because she does them live every time. Like she remixes Tyrone.
Really drop a track, like she really just might perform.
You know what? You might be right. I don't know. Your girl Erykah Badu is cold with it. You know what? I'm agree with y'all. I think it's gonna be Erykah, y'all.
No, Reecie, what you got?
Listen, I'm going with Fat Belly Bella. Okay, I'm going with Erykah Badu. I'm gonna call Tyrone, and I'm gonna eat my vegetables because I'm clear. I want somebody to kiss me on the back of my neck.
Okay.
Okay, I'm a soldier.
On my neck. And
I don't have a complex occupation. However, I'm Team America. I love Jill.
Hey,
and I mean, they have great energy. The culture wins. Black girl magic wins. Black excellence wins. R&B wins. Neo soul wins. But I got to know with my girl Erica.
No.
All right then. So we gonna find out. We gonna find out.
Y'all, I just want to quickly, Drew, I know we got to get off, but I just want to plug tomorrow we are doing KHive watch party on
Yes, come through, y'all.
Yes.
Our movie, Waiting to Exhale.
Whitney.
We do this every week, y'all.
And y'all,
so if this comes out,
something just exclusive for Live with KHive. So I'm gonna need for y'all to just turn up for a second.
Come on with it.
But I'm sitting in my living room though.
But that's actually a great outro right there. So another episode Live with KHive. It's Drew Comments back in the world once again. KHive stay live, whether it's night or the daytime. You feel me? It's Maya, it's Reecie, it's Heather, it's Sydney, it's Kenny. Special shout out to Sarah. Production. Love all y'all. Until next time, take care.
All right.
Happy Mother's Day.
Happy Mother's Day. My God. Yes.
Love y'all.
Forgot about our black mamas, y'all.
Oh, the mamas in the.
Mama, let's do it.
Take care.
Shout out to Renee. Y'all shout out your mamas. My mama is Renee, and my mother-in-law is Patsy.
Okay, let's do that. My mother-in-law is Michelle, and my mama is at Silversmith Mama on Twitter. She is a wild child. I got all of this fire from her. Okay, Miss Denicia out there, I love her. Mwah. Happy Mother's Day, Mom. I love you to death.
Happy Mother's Day to my mother, Carolyn, my favorite North Carolina Central University Eagle. Love you. Happy Mother's Day.
I'm going to have to give a shout out to my mother-in-law, Cindy, and also my forever mama, my mama, Teresa, who passed a long time ago, but I think about her every Mother's Day. So for all those mothers who aren't there right now, we still thinking about you.
Love that.
Happy Mother's Day to my mother, Lynette Santa Cruz. I love you so much. I'm going to go give you a big hug right after this.
Happy Mother's Day to my mother, Sandra LaFay Donald. This is all, I'm literally a spitting image. That's it.
All right, for real this time. Mark to the exit. We out. Take care.
We go. Love y'all. Mwah.